Ryan, last year you talked, it was around this time, first or second game, you talked about how your sophomores needed to take a step and your second-year players needed to take another step forward if you guys were going to make a run. It's a little different this year with your depth. Do you see it that way? It's a little different. You might need them in different ways than you needed some sophomores last year.
Yeah, I think that, when you go into a season, I mentioned this, really as we started last February, March, freshmen are no longer freshmen. Sophomores are no longer sophomores. The juniors are now upperclassmen, and the seniors got their last shot at this thing. And so it happens quickly around here. Young players have to make their impact early on. And this is kind of initiation by fire right now. We don't have a lot of lead-up games into a huge game like this. So those guys are going to have to do a great job of putting it on the field for the first time and having an impact on a game and creating depth because like we talked about, you just never know how this is going to shake out. But we spent a lot of time on that, trying to create build depth, and we'll see as the season goes on how that's gone.
Yes, Ryan. Obviously, you're not allowed to talk about specific recruits, but I want to just ask you generally how important it is for you to have an elite quarterback in every recruiting class.
I mean, that's where it starts. At Ohio State, if you come to be the quarterback, you're shortstop of the New York Yankees. That's what I was told when I got here, and I totally agree with it. And it starts right there. If you have a quarterback, you got a chance. If you don't, you don't. And so, I think you guys have heard me say that before. Going to try to go recruit the best players and develop that room into being the best in the country. And so, still early on in the process, but that's the goal.
Thank you.
Up next, Dave Biddle.
Thanks, Candace. Hi, Ryan. You touched on this a little bit on your coach's show today. Just how difficult is it putting together a travel roster due to COVID and everything you have to worry about with that?
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's something that, we have to make hard decisions on and figure out how to have depth. So maybe there's times where, you would have a few more in one position or another, or you'd like to reward someone for going on the road. But really what this comes down to flat numbers, because if somebody does test positive tomorrow, or on Saturday, and your team is already in State College, you may have a depth issue. So we had to really make sure the numbers were balanced, that we had a pair and a spare at every position. And that's not easy. And so we had to make some really hard decisions and project out the best we could. But again, everybody's dealing with it in the conference. We just have to handle it better than our opponents.
And just a quick follow-up. You guys are allowed to take 74, I believe. And do you still have some tough decisions to make there, or do you know that 74?
We met on it this morning. Still have a couple final things to tie up, but have a pretty good feel for it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Up next, Nathan Baird.
Yeah, Ryan, I was going to follow up on that. Can you explain the fairness pair? Exactly what does that mean? What does that mean for the roster?
The pair and a spare? Yeah, that just
Correct,
means that just means, like, for instance, let's take punter, for example. You need to have two punters that you feel great about, and then spare would be somebody that maybe could come in a backup role. Long snapper, you need two guys you feel really good about, and then somebody that could come in and maybe finish out a game. X receiver, you could have two X receivers you feel good about, and then somebody that could finish a game, just like on defense. Strong safety, nickelback, will linebacker. And so if you have that, and that means versatility, and that's something that we've been preaching this year big time, is that the guys who are more versatile and can do more things really help. And really where that comes into play the most is on special teams.
Ryan, a couple guys really raved about the way that Nick Petit-Frere played on Saturday. Two things: how did you evaluate him in that start, and what is the challenge for him against this Penn State front?
It was a solid. He graded out a champion, but this is a bigger challenge this week. I mean, both of these guys, really, there's three or four of them that are really talented. Very similar. They're quick. They're powerful off the edge. Try to get your feet moving and then redirect you. I think they're as talented as defensive ends we've seen in a while. So it's a new challenge for him. I think for him, he's just got to trust his technique. He's seen good defensive ends here over the last couple of years. And so he knows what he's doing. He's just got to trust his technique. But this will be his first time going in this type of environment against this type of talent. And so this is a big test for Nick.
Tim May.
I think you said me, right, Candace?
Yeah.
Tim May?
Yep. You're up, Tim.
Okay, I couldn't hear. Hey, just a quick update on Chris Olave, and then I wanted to ask you, how much have you changed your travel plans from a standpoint where you guys take 2 planes over there to make sure you get the proper spacing, et cetera? You've got a new hotel. Just how much have things changed in this era, Ryan?
Yeah, pretty significant. We have to really spread out the buses. We have a bunch of buses now. We only have so many people on a bus. We have to spread out throughout the plane. Some of our personnel is going to actually, drive over. So we had to do that. We had to de-densify the whole travel party. And the same thing at the hotel. We have the whole hotel this week, which is great. But still, there's just a lot of, things we need to do in terms of meals, group meetings, walkthroughs, things that, you usually just take for granted. You don't think twice about, but they got to be masked. They got to be distanced. They got to be, follow the protocol that our medical people and the Big Ten have put in place. And, like for instance, getting ready at the hotel, not really dressing in the locker room. We won't have our pads on getting on the bus, but for the most part, we'll have most of our stuff on. It's just a very different feel. But again, just adjust and you make the best of it.
And Olave's status, what's his status?
Yeah, so again, we put out the availability report, and so we don't get too far into that. But he's had a good, strong week of practice.
Gotcha. Thanks, man.
Yep.
Jeremy Birmingham.
Hey, Ryan, I know that you've been a fan of saying that, everybody's dealing with the same things. And specifically on recruiting, you guys have all been in the middle of this dead period forever. A couple of people I've talked to have said that right now recruiting kind of feels like the wild, wild west, though, in a lot of ways, because there are some things that you can't control, like kids being able to go to a stadium for a program that is playing a game that allows fans and versus you guys not being able to have fans so they can't buy a ticket. Is there anything specific that you'd like to see the NCAA do more right now in this time to try to regulate this? Because it seems like there are some different rules across the country.
Well, I think it's certainly an advantage for those schools that, if kids can go to their game and, for one school and not for another, it's a huge competitive advantage. And so, I don't think that's fair. I don't have a great solution right now. I don't really have the brain power to be thinking about all that because it's just right now it's focused on, beating Penn State. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that's right. And but I also think that these recruits and their families, have to make tough decisions, and so they need the opportunity to go see these places, and they haven't for such a long time. And I think that's really hard on them and their families. So not an easy solution. I don't really have the answer right now, but I know that there's some inequity going on right there that needs to be addressed.
Thanks.
Up next, Dan Hope.
Hey, Ryan, just wanted to ask you what's gone on with Wisconsin and Nebraska over the past couple of days. Just how much does those situations concern you, especially when, you run the possibility of something like that being out of your control?
Yeah, it's something that we worry about every day. Feel really awful for Paul and for his team and his staff and his players. It's just such a, contagious, crazy virus. And so, certainly our thoughts are with them and then also with Nebraska and, very disappointed that they weren't able to play. I know that they've worked really hard and I think, I know that they really worked hard to try to get another game, which I thought they should have had the opportunity to play. Scott's worked really hard with that team and they've made a lot of sacrifices. And so to not have the opportunity to play for them, I really feel bad for those guys. And, not good at all. Those are the things that we worry about at night is just trying to make sure that, we're clean and doing our part. But even still, I thought, Nebraska did everything they needed to do and still they don't have a game this week. So, hard times and certainly not fun.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yep.
Up next, Clay Hall.
Ryan, would you feel like that Wisconsin should forfeit and Nebraska gets credit, or is that not ethical either?
Yeah, I don't know, Clay. another tough one, and it's like I'm trying to figure out third down right now, and so my brain just wrapped around that and game planning. But I get it. It's like what's right here, and such unprecedented times. I don't know what's right, but I just know that I feel for both programs, and I just pray that they all get healthy and they get an opportunity to play.
Thanks.
Yep.
Up next, Doug LeMaurice.
Sorry, couldn't find my unmute. Ryan, talking about third down, Pete Werner did a pretty good job on Pat Frymuth last year. Doesn't seem like that'll as much be Pete's job this year. Just the kind of matchup that guy presents, and what are some of the better options you guys think you have for dealing with the tight end that size and that skilled?
Yeah, no, he's a matchup issue on first and second and third down. Whether it's a run game, he's strong and powerful, but he's also a matchup in the pass game, man-to-man. He can get big and go, get jump balls. He can body you up. Good player. And then Clifford's accurate giving him the ball. I think they have a good connection, a good timing. So, we got to look hard at that, and that's going to be one of those things we can't get beat with that on third down. Got to be on top of that. I also think you got to make sure that you're putting the right guys in the right position to be successful. Pete's done a decent job there. And so we've looked at a lot of different things. We'll figure out as the end of the week what's the best way to attack them and defend them. But we still got a couple more days here to make those final decisions once we get done with the practice.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yep.
Next, Brendan Gulick.
Hey, Coach, I'm curious about how you feel your organization, like personally. You got a lot on your plate right now. The virus has added to it. Going on the road for the first time has added to it. How do you feel that this period of your coaching career has helped you become more focused, more organized, better able to kind of stay in the moment?
Multitasking is certainly one of the things that you have to be good at right now. There's a lot going on, like you said. And what you got to do is you got to do the best you can to delegate and lean on the people that are around you and give them direction. Trust that people are doing their jobs. And that's really what it comes down to. And that's, for somebody that likes to be in control, sometimes that's hard for me. But at the end of the day, that's where, we hired Kerry Combs and Greg Madison and Larry Johnson to do a great job on defense. We hired Matt Barnes to do a good job with special teams. And so, our operations people, Ryan Stamper and Mick Marotti, these are all the guys you have to count on in times like this. And, Gene Smith has provided such a great infrastructure here that gives us a chance during these times to handle these type of environments. But to say that I sleep well at night with all the different balls that are being juggled, I don't. I worry. I stress about it, but I try to stay in the moment and focus on what's important right now. And that's, figuring out a way to win this game and giving our guys the best plan, getting them ready to play real physical on Saturday night.
Thank you.
Last two, starting with Tony Girdman.
Ryan, kind of getting into all of that then, back to the Wisconsin-Nebraska thing, if you guys were to miss a game and try to get something scheduled, how comfortable would you be just having a random team coming in along with all of the protocols that you guys have? How comfortable would you be playing a game that week against, say,
Well, it's hard to say because there's so many what ifs in those environments. So I don't really know. I know that I've just been told a little bit about what was going on with Nebraska, and I thought based on the testing and what they had an opportunity to do, that they should have an opportunity to do that. But again, I don't know a lot of the details, and I don't really want to speak on what ifs because it's just, there's so many different things in play. But I also know that, there's a team in Lincoln that want an opportunity to play, and they're not playing this week, and that's just hard. It's hard to swallow. You look at your players and your coaches, all the sacrifice that have been made, and they don't have a game this week, and they didn't do anything wrong. That's really hard. And I know it's the pandemic, and so just, you have to chalk it up to 2020. But when you're the head coach, like Scott is, and you got to look at your players and coach, say we're not playing even though we did everything right, man, that's hard to swallow. And so I really feel for those guys right now.
Thanks.
My question goes to Stephen Means.
Hey, Ryan, just from the recruiting standpoint, again, because you guys can't necessarily have the involvement with recruits that maybe you would want to have at this time period, how maybe more important is peer recruiting at a time like this when you guys can't do a lot of things?
Yeah, it's huge. And I think that because of 2020, there's, the Zooms and the FaceTimes and the Microsoft Teams and, Skype. And there's just so many different ways now to communicate that's really been big, more than ever before. So, group type of stuff that's gone on has been really strong. And that's why, when you recruit guys in your class, you want to bring in leaders and, guys of high character so that they bring those type of people in there because they spend more time with the recruits than we do. And I think that's really, really important. And I think Mark Pantoni and his staff have done a great job of doing that. And this time is, even though, like you said, there hasn't been as much time to recruit, but that's what Mark's paid for, man. That's his job. He does a great job at it. And I'm proud of the way that even during this time, we haven't had face-to-face contact with people. We're still connecting with recruits. And that's a tribute to the whole staff, to Mark's staff. So we just got to stay on top of that and keep it going.